And we're rolling. Hey guys, welcome to the third episode of the Creative Thought Podcast. I'm James.
You know who I am.
Emery. And thanks for joining us. If you haven't heard the last episode, please go ahead and check that out. We definitely want to hear your thoughts on it. Like, comment, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Do it for this episode too. But we're just going to get straight into it here. So the topic for today is going to be, can you force creativity? This has always been something that I've always just automatically leaned towards no on, but I think that sometimes I'm guilty of, and I don't doubt other creatives may be kind of guilty of this as well, is sometimes we attribute not being able to force creativity as a means of kind of avoiding some things that when we could remedy the situation where we're not feeling creative. But that's my immediate thought is no, you can't force creativity, but we're going to get more into why and how, and if you're not feeling creative, how you can remedy that and try to open yourself up to a creative mindset. But Emery, what are your thoughts on that?
I believe that the answer is more complex than a yes or no. Like in most circumstances, you kind of can. And my theory is that there's disciplines and principles that in your chosen field, you should be able to pick up on, do, and learn. Yep. And if called upon to do something, you can fall back on those principles. And it's like this quote that I heard someone else say a couple weeks ago. It's this guy who's a potter. He had the quote, and it was in a Zoom meeting. He said, if I'm doing something I've already done, I don't need to be creative to do it. If I'm doing something new, something that's in like the depths of my soul, something that I need to bring out, my soul needs to be clean. So I need to, and that was about forgiveness and other things that you have to do to sort of like cleanse yourself. So you can come from a pure viewpoint and create. So even if it's not something that's inspiration from like something that you see outside and it's something from the inside. Like if I'm going to create something from within me, I have to be clean. Or you got to be hurt.
Hey man,
there's a lot of art that's been created from being hurt.
Pain produces
pain produces artwork, and so does purity.
Yeah, that is
and
true. And
if you're not in that point, you have to fall back on those principles. So if you're like, hey, can you make this for me? You got to fall back on your principles. If it's not like something that's inspired, like for me, if I'm drawing, I got to see something I'm inspired by. If I'm just going to go off and just draw, my default, if I'm not in that sense, is going to be a little. It's not going to be up to my standard because I'm like, okay, can I do this? Can I do that? And I'm feeling no, because it's not something that's coming from within me, and I haven't found those. I can't fall back on those principles because I'm like distracted by that.
So you said in most cases, yes. And you can, if you're not feeling creative, you can fall back on like disciplines and stuff. Mm-hmm. But if you're falling back on, disciplines and prior knowledge and such, is that truly being creative, or is that just you kind of like the guy said, going with what you already know, mm-hmm. what you've already done in the past, and that doesn't require creativity where you're trying to branch out into a new aspect or experiment with something. You're just kind of I don't want to say playing it safe, but using your disciplines to chart a path versus kind of going out in the rough.
You're using your disciplines in the creative arts. We do that all the time in our creative pursuits. We learn disciplines, and then we can go from there. We can be like, oh, I'm going to go in this aspect and do it this way. I think I'm going to go this way and do this way. And so if we're creating something new and we're just like, sometimes we sort of like forego those yet those still guide us.
Very true.
So like when you're making music, you're just not going to I'm just going to do it this way and play the piano however you want to play the piano. You still know principles that come along with playing the piano. So you're going to go along those in your creative pursuits. So if someone asks you to like play something just off the dome and they're going to freestyle to it or sing to it or anything, you have to fall back on your principles now. If you're not in the mindset of creativity, if creativity isn't flowing from you right now, if you're distracted or something like that, and they're just like, hey, play, and you play, you're going to play based off of those principles. It's going to be in a different sense. It's still going to be those same principles that are guiding you.
Yeah, but is that creative?
It can be.
How?
You're creating music.
Okay. But here's how I see it, because I see an example of my head where you have a pianist who's playing a chord progression, like just a 4-bar chord progression. Mm-hmm. And I would say the example of the discipline is like learning the progression, like ignore 4-bar, just learning a song, mm-hmm. knowing the chords and the chord structure, chord progression of a song. And then I would say the creative part would be if that pianist like does things to kind of branch outside what the normal chord structure of the song is.
Yeah, and you can do that through those you already know that. There's already creativity inside of you. You're not really forcing at that point. You can take that, okay, I know this and that, and then I can sort of freestyle from that point on because I already know how. It's different than like, okay, I'm going to create something brand new from the depths of my soul.
Okay, I see.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Which kind of leads into our next point, because while I see what you mean, I still struggle with the discipline versus, or not discipline, like being able to force it, mm-hmm. versus just letting it flow.
Yeah, and those are two different things. You're not forcing you're not forcing creativity there, because I don't think you can really force it in that sense. You're just relying on your principles at that point. If you are in a sense, or if you're in a state where you can't be, or don't feel like you're being creative. Being creative is more like you are just reaching. You're seeing and feeling something new, and you're just going from there. And if you're not in that state, you have to just rely on what you know and then go from there.
You know what? Though, and this wasn't actually the next point, but it's something that kind of popped in my head that I've experienced myself is, as time goes on, sometimes I feel like learning new concepts and disciplines and developing has somehow limited my creativity, or I feel like I might be like just unconsciously pigeonholing myself creatively just because when I hit a certain threshold in learning something, or there's a new concept that I'm trying to grasp, I make the incorrect. My mind goes to this area that, quite frankly, it's not supposed to go, where it's like, okay, I just learned this thing, so it has to be this way. It has to.
Ah, okay.
And that's kind of, I feel like that's an error that a lot of people run into, mm-hmm. because I've seen this in plenty of forums, in the, me being a producer and like the FL Studio forums, in the Ableton Live forums, where they're like, as time goes on, I feel like I'm less and less creative because we're taking things that should be, guidelines, just guides, mm-hmm. that you're still able to branch outside of, because really art is just subjective overall. There's no real right or wrong, but there's still disciplines that you can use to further it, but not necessarily absolutely dictate it. And I think that's an error that a lot of people make, is they use their disciplines to dictate what the art should be versus to suggest what it may be or suggest what it may become.
Yeah, like from what you're saying, like you really do hold yourself in that area, because you can just use it and be like, okay, now that I have this knowledge, that's another arrow in my quiver. It doesn't have to be this way every single time. It can be, I'm doing this and I can take elements of that and put it into this.
So the discipline is the arrow and not the target.
Yeah. Took me. I was like,
you like that, what up? So,
because
we're gonna throw that on the screen.
What?
If you're watching this on YouTube, discipline is the arrow and not the target. That's deep. Dang,
it's not that deep.
I killed it right now. I swear, I killed it right now. But honestly, it makes sense because you're not aiming for the final destination to be, oh, I learned this thing. You're aiming for the art to be what you meant for it to be. You're learning disciplines, you're learning structures so that you can get to that final stage of expression to where it can be almost like frictionless, seamless, going from your mind.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's getting the discipline down. Yeah. Learning the discipline is broadening your scope and knowledge in everything. One thing that I really like to do is widen my vocabulary. And the reason I like to do that is because I can be more expressive. I can say one word when normally it would have took me a whole sentence. The problem with that is people don't know. So then I got to go back on the one. So you can be more expressive when you widen your vocabulary. In the same sense, you can widen your ability to express in the arts when you learn more disciplines. When you learn all those other disciplines, you can put them together in a way that's never been done before to express what this piece is supposed to mean.
Yeah, and I think that is the exact verbiage that's used even with things like drumming or playing keys is vocabulary, because you're learning certain things. I mean, it could be like in drumming, there's a rudiment called the paradiddle, but that is a piece of vocabulary. But mm-hmm. It all depends on where you put it in the sentence. Yeah. It all depends on where you put it in the measure, in the song, and even how you structure it around the drum kit. That really helps you better tell or better express what you're trying to express. Mm-hmm. And that's what you're saying here. So that discipline of learning the paradiddle or the, what am I trying to say? The paradiddle itself is a tool.
Yes.
And I guess a discipline of the paradiddle would be knowing where it works best in order to better express what you're trying to express. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think that works.
Yeah.
I like it. But one thing is, because our focus is on creativity, while discipline can help further creativity, does discipline help with inspiration? Because there is no creativity without inspiration.
No, it does not.
No, it doesn't. And inspiration is important because it's kind of a motivation towards creativity, I found. Let me see, because there was a website that put it pretty well that I want to find here. If I can find it in my notes, they're kind of all over the place. Let's see. It says inspiration is a motivational state that compels individuals to bring ideas into fruition. And that's from the Frontiers in Human Neuroscience, an article from 2014. So it's saying that inspiration is kind of what pushes you to go further in whatever bounds that you're trying to cross, or even expound on the disciplines that you already have. Mm-hmm. So discipline is there as a guide, but it won't take you further without that motivational state of inspiration.
Yeah, that's true. When it comes to me drawing or painting, the only thing I feel gets me better is seeing a person when I'm like, okay, let me sketch something real quick. Let me find a reference art. I'll find a photo that I can reference to draw. Right. If that photo inspires me, that elevates my artwork. Other times it's just like, okay, I need something to draw because I'm going to draw later and I want to warm up. So I'll warm up, find a drawing. I'm like, whatever. It looks all right. I'll find something that inspires me, and my warm up just became that. I'm done now. Because it was that good. It elevated. There's stuff that I drew like years ago that's better than stuff that I'm drawing now because I was inspired by. I was like, dang, she pretty. It's like, oh God, she's gorgeous. I could draw this. Oh my gosh, I can draw this. And then I would draw it. I'm like, I think I can draw it. It's like right out of my range. And I'm going to extend myself to get there.
Got you. That makes sense. And it's a similar thing with me. Why I like to watch other producers create, like on YouTube, like Curtis King, Servita Music, who else? Kyle Beats, because when you just listen to a track, when you just listen to it, it's like, oh man, this track is dope. But when you actually watch someone make it and you're like, you know what, I can do that. I can learn this. I can put that together. Mm-hmm. Because just watching them, I feel like for me is a form of inspiration because it puts it into perspective that this is something that maybe I'm not there yet to just where I can just put it together straight away without any input. But when I'm watching someone else do it and they're like, hey, I'm taking these elements, doing this, doing that, doing the other. I'm not trying to make the exact same thing as them, but what I am trying to do is put my own piece together in a similar way to where I can just expand my horizons with what they did. Because who can, like, I don't know if you'd heard Curtis King as a producer.
No.
Hey, but if you're in the producer community, his beats slap. And like all the time, it's ridiculous. But it's like you just listen to it and you're like, man, how did he do that? How did he do this? But then you watch him put the stuff together and like, you know what? I think I can do that. And you go and you follow the steps. You learn the process of how he does his stuff. And you don't just take it verbatim. Mm-hmm. And okay, I'm going to take this clap. I'm going to take this snare. I'm going to do this drum beat, take these. You don't take it verbatim, but what you do is you take the concept and you integrate it into your own creative style so that you're furthering your creative style. So when you want to make something that just absolutely slaps, something that's hard hitting, something that's crazy, ridiculous, the tools, or you have the tools in order to do that. So I think that's a form of inspiration that I take as well. Now, one important thing is...
So basically what you're saying is you're a student of... What's his name? Curtis King?
Curtis King. Yep. And that's an important thing is inspiration is kind of... I think... I can't remember where I saw it. It's not in my notes. I forgot to grab it. But it was saying inspiration is formed by you kind of putting yourself outside of your comfort zone. Not so far out of your comfort zone that you don't like it, but far enough outside of your comfort zone that you have to approach something in a different way.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's like, I equate that to when I was trying to touch the rim. Like I'm a when
you hurt yourself.
No.
Oh no, this was a different time.
That was before. Like when I was younger, I was like 5 foot, and I knew that the rim is 10 feet, and I was like, I can touch that. Not yet. I'm gonna get there. So what I did was, the house that we were growing up in, we had a thing that was like 8 feet.
Yeah.
So we had like a 9 foot ceiling, and then we had a hallway, and then there was a little vent there for air, and it went for 8 feet. I measured it. So I tried every day in 8th grade to reach that. Got it in 8th grade. So once I got my whole hand on that, it's time to go up to the vaulted part of the ceiling to reach 9 feet. So I am over there swiping every single day, missing, because it's something that's just out of my range to where I know I'll be able to reach this. It wasn't so far away that it's just like, what's the point of even trying? I need to do something else. It was go for this because it's so far that you can't reach it yet. Yet it's so close. It'll stretch you until you get it. And then when it comes to like looking at stuff from a different angle, that's what I used to do. I used to seek out the tallest person to play basketball against. And they couldn't just be tall. They had to be as fast as me. Because if they're tall, I can beat them with speed. If they're like almost as fast as me, all they got to do is reach their arm out when I go around them, and they'll block my shot. Which means I got to think about things in a different way. I gotta adjust my shot. I gotta try and do a fade. I gotta do something to get around this person because they match my speed, and I'm up to their chests when it comes to height. So their arms are going to be long. I can't just shoot straight up. I got to do something to get around them. And so when I play in games, people will be like, why'd you do that like circus shot? That was luck that you made that. No, I practice these things by seeking out people that I know are going to push me.
Right.
Like if I went against you, you ain't going to push me. No offense. Hey. No offense to like anybody from, back then. It's just like these certain tall people are going to push me in a way to where when we're in a game and you pass me the ball at a stupid point, I can still make that shot. I can still do that because I put in the practice to go against people that made me think differently.
And you know what that made me think about? Just as another visualization. I did think about that word before I tried to say it. This is the long one. Hold up. But another example that popped in my head was when you're lifting. You had mentioned that your goals aren't so far beyond what you can currently do that you're just like, I can't do that. But they're like just out of reach. Yeah. They're just out of reach to where you're like, I can get there eventually. And that made me think of goal setting when you're just, that's a common issue with goal setting. Even some times that I'm guilty of is when I'm setting a goal, it might be a lofty goal. And there's nothing wrong with setting lofty goals, but the issue is if you set a lofty goal and then you don't set those small steps in between where you are currently and where you want to be at that lofty goal, it's like, where's okay, it's just right there. I got to hit it. And then after that goal, okay, now that next step is right there. I got to hit it. Yeah. Each time it's stretching you, but it doesn't have you looking at it like
this is impossible.
Yeah. Because that is a motivational killer. That will kill your inspiration.
Yeah. So if you have those huge goals that are like way outside of what you think you can do, setting those small steps are important to help you see not only that it's possible, it gets you there. It gives you the tools as you're traveling. So, we were talking about inspiration. I don't want to get too far off topic.
Well, I mean,
of inspiration. We're just talking right now about disciplines and how to get to where you want to go.
I mean, honestly, I feel like discipline is really an underlying part of all this. Because when we get to the core of creativity, being able to be creative, being able to just let your mind roam free in whatever craft that you're doing. The creativity is good, but if you have creativity without any practical knowledge on how to put it down, then I feel like then it can come out just not what you intend. Yeah,
that's where it comes to like raw talent versus discipline.
Yes.
I mean, that person with raw talent, they're good, they're amazing. They just don't know the principles. They don't know what it takes to get there. They're just good at it without training. Then you got that other person that went through the training. They know everything it takes to get there. They're going to beat that person with raw talent.
Right.
So even if they're like a little robot, uninspired person, they know what it takes. You could be creative, have all this talent, know how to do everything instinctively. You just don't have the discipline, and then there's going to be parts of it that you just don't know because you don't know. And that's going to stop you and halt you from being all that you can be because you didn't learn the skill. And I think that's what stops me in a lot of things, because I'm like, I don't have that straight up, I went to school for this. Like, I went to school for only a little while when it came to writing. So there's things that I don't know because I went straight to work. After, like I stopped going to school to go to work. So there's going to be things I don't know when it comes to writing outside of what I see when I'm watching a movie, what I read. And I know that that's a mistake. They shouldn't have done this. Why didn't they do it this way? That doesn't gel as a story. How did this get made?
It's just like how Sway.
Like, and then I'm thinking, and in the same vein, like, okay, well, there's certain things that I just don't know. I know I don't, even though I don't know what they are, because there's known unknowns. Like, there's stuff that I don't know because I didn't stay in school because I went straight to work after a little while.
Right.
So there's going to be things that I know I don't know. So it's like, well, I can't talk.
Yeah,
it's like I can't talk, and that's where that discipline versus inspiration comes from. Like, it's if I am feeling creative, and then I get a commission piece, I got to stop my creativity to work on this commission piece. And if that commission piece doesn't speak to me, we have a problem.
Yeah, because it's like we talked about this last week with, collabs and working on on requests. It's like, if that inspiration is not there for you, then what do you have to fall back on when your heart's not in it?
Yeah, and then you can only fall back on that discipline. And when it comes to certain disciplines, even in drawing, my feeling of I'm not inspired outweighs that discipline.
Me too. I'm not gonna front.
This isn't even half as good as it could be, because I'm letting that frustration of it's not flowing. I'm used to these certain things flowing. Like, not everything flows. It's just these certain things should flow for me because that's just how it's always been. Like, come up with a story idea. Boom, got it. I got a full story. Like, I know the motivations of the character that walks across the street. I know what drives him in life, who's not even in the scene. He's just a background character. Goodness. Like, I can see all of that. And then if like, I'm not inspired to do that because I'm doing something else, and it's taking away from that sort of creative process over there, and now I got to focus it over here. I'm like, I don't know. I mean, you want me to write a story? There's black people on planet Earth.
Oh, man.
Like, what do you want? What do you want? Like,
hey, hold on. Let me restart it.
Are you ready?
Well, I mean, we're rolling, so.
Oh, we rolling? You ain't say that.
I'm sorry. I had to restart the camera.
Yeah, and then you started talking about the thing, so I thought you was like talking to some, or texting somebody back.
Nah, I'm playing.
Back or something.
Nah, I'm playing. But we weren't supposed to go in this direction, but letting it flow. Call that inspiration. Call that creativity.
How we got here was creative?
Yeah, I mean, I think so.
Huh.
Actually, I don't know. Okay. I think I made that up.
You should have let that flow. Yes. It was creative how we got to there with our current thought process.
But I like how you put that because I think what is talent without
Black women?
not talent, creativity without discipline, without the knowledge in order to bring it to fruition. One thing that I struggle with a lot is I love the way, and I'm just referencing music a lot just because
He loves
that's
music.
how it is.
He's a producer. That's why the music.
I love the way
Flow.
certain chord progressions invoke certain emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you just have this dramatic, just tugging at the heartstrings chord progression on a grand piano, like it's beautiful. You hear the chords, and you know how it makes you feel, and you recognize how those chords and where they're placed makes you feel. It's a totally different issue on what notes make those chords and how to put those notes in those chords, what velocity to play them at, or I should say what dynamics to play them at. I said velocity, that's like a MIDI term, but what dynamics to play them at, and then where to put them in the chord progression as well. Those are two totally different things. One is like me hearing a chord progression that I made up in my mind. That's creative. But the discipline is knowing actually how to play it or put it into a DAW so that I can replicate it in real life, because hearing it and knowing the actual notes is two different things.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
It is true.
Yeah. But that's the way I see it. So discipline is very important when it comes to creativity, because without discipline, your creativity can't go as far as it could. Not to say that discipline is a rule that dictates, but it guides. It gives you the ability to, I guess, know the bounds, quote unquote, and go beyond them and venture into new things. Because I mean, how do you know where the bounds are and where you're expanding into if you don't know the guidelines surrounding them?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just figured that as the thing. That's also why I went to school for audio engineering, for things like Pro Tools and live sound engineering, because while I could definitely learn it just, YouTube videos and day-to-day practice, there are certain principles that just are either not easy to find, or it will be much easier just to learn in a classroom environment when a teacher is in there telling it to you.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, this is a thing. Learn this equation. Like I did not know there were so many equations having to do with live sound. Like you can look at the space of a room and calculate how many speakers you need to hit a certain volume or a certain sound pressure level or a dB level in the room, and how many amps you need to run that as well. It's like, yeah, no, I would not have figured that out.
Yeah, and there's certain things you won't know unless you're in that situation or in a school setting. And it's best to learn that in a school setting if you can.
Yeah.
Because then you can get all the knowledge sort of unfiltered. I mean, there's certain things you have to learn while you're there. It's just these things you can learn here, now, in this way, in this setting. And then when you go out, you can take that knowledge and, I don't know, you have like sort of advantage, sort of like ROTC when you go into the military.
And you have that advantage.
Yeah, you don't gotta go.
And then it's like, and not to say that school is the way it has to be, anything like that, because quite frankly, you can go to school for something and get out in the real world, and I guess what's the term? You're green.
Yeah.
You're brand new. You don't really know what's going on, because there's a difference between learning something in a controlled environment and being out there in a real life doing something. And that's where sometimes, or not even sometimes, like people who've been out there just doing it versus people who've been in school and then they get out and they're doing it. If you've been out there doing it and you've been a professional, making money, this, that, and the other, you can have the leg up over people who've been to school.
Yeah.
Now, that's not to say school is not
experience.
Right. You have real world experience that's proven in the real world. That's not to say school is bad, because in school it's kind of like a leg up if you want to take the time to learn this, that, and the other, and then go out there and apply it in a certain way, because that just gives you knowledge that you can use to your advantage as well, whichever path is right for you. Hear what I said, whichever path is right for you. School is not bad, but it's not always the way.
I've been through this a couple times, and apparently my path has to be experience over school.
Oh, man.
I'm like, oh, okay. I guess this isn't working. I guess I can't get back into school. Oh, well.
But hey,
that's not going to stop me from trying to put myself out there.
Very true. And you know what? Damn, I can't remember what I was going to say. But that made me think about, like, even when you're putting together a gig for a live sound event, like the guy I work with, Paul, he very knowledgeable in with his equipment, the JBL line array system, his amps, and this, that, and the other. And it's so interesting how creative you can get with something that's actually so technical. And he uses that technical knowledge to say, hey, if we do the speakers and the subwoofers in this configuration, we'll be able to get this even louder and get the sound even cleaner and do this, that, and, like, it's crazy.
Okay, so that just made me think.
What?
All right, so here's the thing. Here's the thing when it comes to creativity and discipline and knowledge and all that stuff. You need knowledge, you need discipline. And if you have creativity, it can take all of that to a new level.
Very true.
So you can be creative, not have knowledge and discipline. You can be creative and have discipline and not knowledge. I'm just creative. No, I'm just kidding. I do have some knowledge on some areas and my discipline trying to get better with. When it comes to, like what he said with the man he works with, he is creative, he has knowledge, and he has discipline. If you have knowledge, you can take two seemingly unrelated things and bring them together in a way that will amplify everything you're trying to do. So, and then there's people that are disciplined and have knowledge, then are not creative. So when I was talking about how you can fall back on those disciplines, that doesn't mean that you're not creative if you're just relying on disciplines that you know. It's just you might have a block. And then things could flow from there.
Yeah.
So if I start with these certain principles, that block can be removed because I'm starting in a creative process. Likewise, you can be knowledgeable in all this stuff, have all this discipline, and then miss something crucial that will bring everything together. You could miss a connection that can save a production. Like, oh, we're missing these three things. Like people that bake, they may not have the right ingredients. They just know I can substitute that for this and it'll still be as good.
Because they have that.
They have the knowledge.
Yeah.
And then they're using that knowledge with their creativity to create something new. So you do have to be knowledgeable. You don't have to go to school to get that knowledge. You can get that through experience. Right. And experience is another crucial part. So I guess it's a square. 4 points.
Experience, knowledge. I mean, those could probably fit. Actually, no, they can't.
No.
Because you could have all the knowledge in the world, but if you don't have experience.
Yeah. You could have the knowledge because you read it in a book and you're out in the real world. You're like, oh, I don't know.
I feel like experience adds to knowledge, but experience itself.
You need both.
Yeah, I feel like experience itself is not knowledge, or they're not interchangeable. But that was interesting when you mentioned like the cook saying, okay, we don't have this ingredient, but we do have something that is pretty darn close that'll make this epic.
Yeah. And then if you have that knowledge on this is how this works, this is how this is the consistency of this food, you can create something new from that because you already have knowledge on these things.
Right.
And you can gain that knowledge through testing out, which is experience. Or you could read it in a book, and go to class and learn these things. Yeah,
and we live in a day and age where just knowledge is not far at all. You can go on YouTube. There are plenty of free online courses for whatever you can find. Like my job just gave us access to LinkedIn Learning, which
brings us to our sponsor, Skillshare. Just kidding. We don't have a sponsor.
Yeah, just kidding. We're not sponsored by Skillshare, but hey, Skillshare, eventually.
Yeah, well, that is a place where you can get that knowledge and
definitely. And you know what? There are a few like content creation courses, but I think it's like Sarah Dietschy. I think what is his name? Gene. Potato Jet is a YouTube channel.
Potato Jet?
Yeah. His name is Potato Jet, but incredible dude. I love his content. Like I never get tired of it. I think he's also working on a creative course of his own as well. MKBHD might have a course on there. I'm not sure, but I definitely know Sarah Dietschy does. Just sources like that. No, I'm not.
Just kidding.
Sarah Dietschy. I think her saying is Sarah Dietschy rhymes with peachy.
Who was saying that?
Her.
Oh.
On her YouTube channel. He was like, what?
Hey.
You could tell he doesn't watch her YouTube channel, but I do. Your stuff is dope. But yeah, just...
She ain't gonna watch this, James.
And I don't care. Give a thumbs up if you think our stuff is worth watching. If you feel led to give a thumbs down, please don't do it. Help out.
Feel led to give a thumbs down, don't.
Help us out with this YouTube algorithm, like, share, subscribe, all that stuff.
And whatever podcast place you was trying to go to.
Right.
Whose name he doesn't know. So if you just see like 3 random podcasts pop up, that's a space he did not feel worthy of remembering.
You said 3 random ones.
This is number 3, right? This is episode number 3. Even though we had like 5 different episodes before this, he was like, oh, this isn't good enough for me. Oh, this isn't good enough. This one's going up. And I was like, James, no, I don't look right. He's like, I don't care. And then something else happened.
Yo, let me tell you, there was so much. It was a struggle. Not confront. It was a struggle.
Thank God.
But, here's the thing.
Leave me out there.
We're talking about, can you force creativity? So what if you're falling back on discipline and you're trying to expand beyond those guidelines, but you just don't feel led? Like there are plenty of times where I just did like a standard, just working on a song, working on a track. Oh, just a standard chord progression, regular drums. And it sounded good. Mm-hmm. It sounded all right, but it wasn't anything special.
Here's where I feel about that. All right. You go back and rely on these principles to let creativity flow because you don't want to force it. You never want to force anything.
Why not?
If you force a fart, it might turn in.
Okay, why don't you want to force creativity?
For the same reason. It might turn into something else.
Yeah, and
so you don't want to force it. You want, yeah, exactly. You want to let it flow. So you get into that creative process that you would normally do in a way to sort of let that creativity flow. If it doesn't flow and it doesn't sound right, in my opinion, it doesn't need to be done.
Yeah, because you know what?
This work does not need to be created.
Yeah. Because I've been there where it's like, you're making a beat and you're like, dang, I'm not feeling this, but let me try adding this. And you try to step outside the bounds, but you're not led to step into the place that you're stepping into. You're just going out there just because. And that's when, like he said, stuff starts to sound like crap because you're like, I tried to experiment with this and I tried to do that. And, it's definitely out of bounds.
Yeah.
Like it's out of pocket.
So even if you had something, even if you had a creative spark that initially had an idea and you're like, okay, I'm gonna go back to this, I'm gonna do it. So then you start doing it and nothing's flowing. Either you gotta step back,
Give it time. Yeah.
Or when you come back to it later and see that's not working, you just gotta be like, all right, this isn't it. Because it's not flowing. You don't wanna do anything that's not flowing. Because it's gonna keep you from doing something else that could be done. You're gonna keep yourself frustrated. You don't want to be frustrated while you're creating.
So now that raises a good question, because there's also the concept of, hey, try to finish everything that you start. Now, if you're not feeling creative, if you try to feel creative and you're just not feeling creative, would you just per our conversation, discipline your way through that to where you're just like, okay, familiar concepts through the whole thing, it's done, on to the next one?
No.
Or you just don't finish it.
If it is not a commission piece, if it's not something someone is paying you for, and you're wanting this to come out, and it's not flowing, you don't have to discipline yourself through it.
Even if someone is paying you for it.
No, only if someone is paying you for it. That's the only way you should try to put yourself through this. Unless you're like so much of like, oh, my work has to be this way, that way. I can't do it like this. I can't do your commission piece anymore. Here's your money back. But like and like those are the only ways you should be forcing yourself through a creative work. If it's not that, throw away the piece, abandon the piece, delete it, whatever you got to do. I just be like, nope, this isn't working. Throw it in the trash.
But if it's like a paid piece and you're not feeling creative on it and you fall back on your disciplines, wouldn't that be delivering a subpar work on your own standards?
Yes.
How do you feel about that?
I got paid.
So you're saying even if it is subpar work, if the client is as long as the client is happy.
Yeah, if the client is happy, then you just got to take that L.
Yeah, but it's only an L to you personally.
Exactly. Yes, it is.
Yeah, and I think that's a pride thing, because I'm struggling just with this talking about that right now.
Yeah, because it's like I don't want to put out something that I don't love. If I already said, hey, I'm gonna do this, and nothing is flowing right for me, and I rely on my principles, and it still comes out to like, and they're like, I love it. And I was like, ugh. I just gotta let it go.
Hey, I feel you, because like how? Why? But you know what?
They see something different.
It's a different personality. They have a different perspective.
Yeah.
It might be exactly what they're looking for.
It might be exactly what they're looking for.
Because what you envision might not have fit what they envision.
Yeah. Like what they envisioned might have been exactly that. And your creativity was brought down or hindered or like subdued a little bit just for that to become what they want. Because you were going to go somewhere completely different and they're going to be like, I don't like it. It's too much. And you're going to be like, how dare you?
Man.
How?
You know what that reminded me of? Man, Damon. I love Damon. But you know what? At a moment, like, I listened to his music, like, I had to understand that even though I really want to, I want to, because, he's the bro. But I can't make beats for Damon.
Why not?
Because our styles are so different.
Did he ask for some music?
Well, there have been points where I'm like starting on a beat. He's like, yo, that's it. And then I give him the final product and he's like,
that's not it.
That's not it. And I just like, oh man. But it's like, you know what? It's pride. It's me wanting it. It's me saying, I want this to a certain point. And then I overproduce it.
You do overproduce, James. You do.
Shots fired. I overproduce it.
Pow, pow.
And maybe it's not just generally overproduced. Okay, sometimes it is. But if he says that's perfect, then I'm overproducing for him, the client. the person who wants it.
Yeah. So in that sense, you have to have him come over. You guys work on the beat together.
Damon Logan. What's up, bro?
And since you make the music here, Damon, come through.
It's been a minute, man. But yeah, that's when you said that, it was like, dang. And you know, that's been the case a couple of times. But then also it's been the case where people are like, man, your stuff is just so unique. I want you to like make something, just like make anything. I'm like, you can't.
That's what people have told me.
I'm like, you can't say that. You're not allowed to. I mean, when I make stuff for me, I'm making it for me. But if you're telling me to make something for me,
and then you want
and then it be for you, but it be for you, no, it doesn't work like that.
You know why? Because he's gonna make it to where there's no room for an extra instrument.
No,
a la a voice, because your voice is an instrument too. You put all the stuff in there, so it's like, where can I fit in?
No, but that's not it though. The thing is, if you tell me, okay, just make it, just make something, and you tell me that as if I'm making it for me, but I'm actually making it for you, it's a conflict. Because I'm sitting there constantly like, okay, but you know,
what do you want? What can you do? How do you do your music? How do you sing your song? How do where do you flow in this? Like, and I have to know, you'd have to really know them to make a beat for them.
Yeah.
And you'd have to know their style intimately to make a beat for them in that sense. I get what you're talking about. And that's really difficult to do. I've had that same experience with someone that you know. Your sister.
Oh.
You know that blue you know that blue painting that's in my room? That I haven't finished it.
Oh.
I started that before we moved in here.
Oh my gosh.
She said, do anything. And I was like, no, don't tell me
that's
that.
Almost a year and a half ago.
Don't tell
just
me
for
that.
reference.
I said, no, what do you want? She was like, no. I was like, what colors do you want? Like, can you, you want an abstract piece? What colors do you want? So it was like, any color. So I did it on here first because I'm like, I'm not wasting any more paint. Not wasting on her. It's just like waste. I don't want to like start something and she'd be like, oh, I don't like that. I don't like those colors. So I did about 4 just like quick stuff and be like, what about this? What about this? What about that? And like half of them had yellow in it. She was like, I don't like yellow. And I was like, see, that's why you need to tell me what you want. What colors do you want? Do you want the colors of your living room? Do you want it to like be close to the colors of your living room so it complements the living room, like,
or maybe even contrast?
Yes. Like, give me some instruction on what you want, because I am handicapped right now. My hands are cuffed behind my back, and because I don't know what you want. I just gave you 4 options and 3 of them had to be out the window because of the color. So tell me what colors you want. If you don't know what to say when it comes to like the arrangement of the piece.
Man, that's like someone putting a target in a dark room where you can't see anything. They're telling you shoot the target. It's like you don't know where it is, but they tell you shoot the target.
How big is the target? What type of gun?
It's small. Even though they act like it's a big target, no, it's a small target.
No, the target, it's on the whole wall. No, it's
no, it's in the bottom left corner on the floor. But who would ever know that when the lights are off? Because they don't tell you, they don't guide you to what they're looking for.
Yeah, so I'm over there like, I still like, I only painted it blue. And I was like, I don't know what else to add to this.
Man, I feel you on that. And it's that at that point, it's not even about creativity or discipline. It's instruction.
Yeah. And a lot of people need instruction when it comes to a commission piece. And I'm working on one right now. And I was like, so how do you want the people arranged? And so I was going to do like 2 different options in my head.
Yeah.
And I was going to draw them out, and the creativity wasn't flowing. So I was like, oh gosh. I said I was going to finish 2 before work.
And, that gets into those guidelines to where the guidelines help.
The guidelines weren't helping.
Man. Yeah, but that's the thing.
Because I was like, oh.
Without instruction, without like true good input, like, hey, this is what I'm looking for. Okay, guidelines set. Usually with these guidelines, this will work in terms of this creativity. Mm-hmm. So you know what direction to head into. It's just like, how do you lavish it along the way? So I think that's what that is, because like you're not going to try to go in every direction with your creativity.
Yeah, I was just going to do some like thumbnails of it can be like this, it can be like that, and then I can go and do a detailed version of it. And then you could give me some instruction from there, and then after that will be the final product. And then I was working on trying to do this one this way, and I was like, it's not coming. I know what I want to do, it's not coming. Oh God! All right, let me work on the other one. All right, this is ugly too. All right, I'm gonna just combine these two, and just have it be a really, really rough draft. And she ended up liking that, and she was like, "Well, give him like have him be these colors."
And they're ugly apart, but they look good together.
Cool.
That sounds like a love story. I don't know why. I'm like this.
Yeah. So I'm still working on that.
Man, dang.
That was last week. So this week, hopefully, I get it done. If not, I'm gonna be stressing out a little bit.
It's okay. You'll get there. I promise.
I also need to call somebody else about some artwork.
Dang, this dude leaving clients out.
I am.
Man.
This month has been weird.
This month is so busy. He racking up.
It normally don't happen because I stopped advertising that I sell stuff, that I do stuff, and people are just like, hey, let me get that. Hey. And I'm like, and they're like, yeah. And they're like, oh.
Say, yeah, you.
Yeah. Hey, let me get something too. And I'm like, I didn't even advertise anything. What's going on?
Oh, man. Hey, they like your creativity.
Yeah. Apparently this has been a good month. Inside of a horrible year.
So far, it's been rough, But I think that may just wrap it up for now. Because I know at least I got a busy day ahead of me. But
I got to go to work. My day's busy. Shoot.
Yeah, his day is busy too. But that's just kind of a delve into it. I don't know. Should we do a part 2? Because I feel like it's a lot of information.
Yes.
So this was creativity part 1. Creativity and discipline part 1. Creativity, discipline, experience, and knowledge part 1.
Creativity and flow.
Creativity and flow.
Part 1. Section 1.
Says no. See, that's when it's too long. They're not gonna watch 4 parts of the.
Yes, they are.
Section 1, Section 2.
Yes.
Man, this podcast is about to be an hour long.
Why wouldn't you guys watch that long of a podcast where we talk the 4 different parts? And this is actually intro. And we do 4 parts.
Oh man! Speaking of which, we're going to be dropping soon on a few other platforms. One of them, of course, is SoundCloud Classic. The second one, I can't remember the name of right now, but you're going to see us up there.
Thought you were looking that up.
Man, I was supposed to, and I forgot. I'm sorry. But those are going up soon. We're kind of running out of time on the camera, but thank y'all for sticking with us. This is part 1 on creativity and flow.
Part 2 comes out whenever we put it out.
So hit that notification bell.
Don't force us to let this flow.
But all right, guys. Thank you for joining us once again. It's James Emery. Instagrams are down below. Y'all have a good one. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Peace.